When I was playing, I used to try to go look for suits, and regular places could never find them. And, of course, me being who I am, I could pay.
Shaq was out enjoying a game with a bucket of popcorn in hand, but he never expected to have an unforgettable encounter with a toddler. The arena was alive with excitement, the kind of energy that only a big game could bring. The Los Angeles Lakers were playing their longtime rivals, the Boston Celtics, in one of the most hyped games of the season. Fans roared as the teams warmed up, anticipation building with every passing second. But one guest stood out above the rest. In the VIP section, Shaquille O'Neal, dressed in a sharp, tailored jacket and his signature chain, leaned back in his oversized seat with a jumbo bucket of popcorn resting on his lap. Shaq was hard to miss. His towering stature set him apart even in the crowd. His infectious laugh occasionally rippled through the nearby seats, drawing glances from admirers. For Shaq, it was supposed to be a relaxing night out, enjoying the sport he loved without the pressure of competing. What Shaq didn't expect was that the night would become memorable for a reason entirely unrelated to the game itself. Shaq had been invited to the game as part of a tribute to the Lakers' championship legacy. At halftime, the team planned to honor former players who had contributed to the franchise's storied history. For Shaq, it was more than just another public appearance. The Lakers weren't just a team he played for, they were family. The organization had been important in cementing his legacy as one of the most dominant forces in basketball history. Seated courtside, popcorn in hand, Shaq was excited to take in the game's electric atmosphere without the pressure of cameras constantly on him, though, as it turned out, that plan didn't quite pan out. Shaq's love for the game and his personality made him a natural magnet for attention, even when he tried to stay low-key. Fans frequently stopped by to say hello, ask for autographs, or snap selfies. True to form, Shaq embraced it all with his trademark humor and warmth. But just a few seats away, a curly-haired toddler with sparkling eyes had a very different plan for the evening. A few rows away, Mira and Daniel were trying to keep their 2-year-old daughter entertained. Harper, an adventurous and curious toddler with bouncy curls and an insatiable love for popcorn, had come to the game with her parents. The Johnsons were lifelong basketball fans, and this was Harper's first live game. Her parents had been saving for months to afford these tickets. For Daniel, it was a chance to relive his high school basketball glory days. And for Mira, it was about sharing her favorite sport with her little girl. Harper, however, wasn't all that interested in the game from the moment they entered the auditorium. She was more fascinated by the flashing lights, the cheering crowd, and the smells of stadium snacks. These were far more appealing to her than the game itself. "Mommy, popcorn!" Harper declared, pointing insistently. Mira chuckled without looking away from the game and handed her a small bag of snacks they had brought for her, hoping to keep her occupied with it. But Harper wasn't satisfied. Her eyes had shifted to a different kind of excitement. She had spotted something far more tempting a few seats away, a massive bucket of popcorn perched on the lap of a very, very tall man. Her parents, clearly fans of the game, were momentarily distracted, caught up in a heated play on the court. Moments later, as they erupted into cheers for a Lakers three-pointer, Harper decided to make her move. She wriggled, climbing down from her seat. She toddled determinedly toward the tall man, her light-up sneakers flashing as she got closer to the popcorn. To her, he was just a giant who happened to have what she wanted. The moment she reached Shaq's seat, she paused, staring up at him with wide, curious eyes. At first, she hovered by his chair, her eyes fixed on the golden treasure. The scene was almost comedic. There he was, a 7'1" giant, engrossed in the game, his hand periodically dipping into the popcorn bucket. And there she was, a merely 2-foot toddler, staring up at him like he was a living, breathing skyscraper. Shaq didn't notice her right away. After all, she barely reached his knees. The audience nearby noticed Harper first. Fans in the rows behind Shaq watched, their curiosity piqued as the tiny figure made her way toward the towering legend. Whispers and chuckles started spreading. "What's she doing?" one fan murmured, nudging their friend. "Oh no, she's going for it." Another laughed, pulling out their phone to record. When Harper finally reached Shaq, she wasted no time. Standing beside him, barely tall enough to reach his lap, and with the confidence only a toddler could muster, she reached out a small, chubby hand and grabbed a handful of popcorn. When Shaq finally turned his head, suddenly noticed a tiny hand sneaking up the side of his chair. He turned his head slowly, only to find a curly-haired toddler, no more than 2 years old, grinning mischievously as she clutched a fistful of his popcorn. For a moment, the crowd around them held its breath. Some wondered if the former basketball star would shoo her away. But what Shaq did next left everyone in awe. As Harper munched happily, oblivious to the murmurs around her, fans began trying to get Shaq's attention. Some fans pointed and gestured, unable to contain their laughter. But Shaq was focused on the game, completely unaware of what was going on until he felt the slight tug of Harper reaching for a second handful. His eyes darted down, his expression shifting from confusion to pure surprise, his brow furrowed playfully. For a split second, the toddler froze, clutching the popcorn in her hands tightly. Shaq watched her closely, waiting to see her reaction. The little girl grinned, her cheeks dimpling, clearly unbothered by the fact that she'd just been caught red-handed. For a brief moment, Shaq looked stunned. Then he burst into a booming laugh, his shoulders shaking as he leaned back in his chair. "Oh, you're bold," he said, pointing at Harper with a grin. "You caught me," Shaq said in mock defeat, his deep voice booming. Shaq leaned down, his immense hand dwarfing hers, and handed her the entire bucket. "I guess this popcorn is for both of us now." As her tiny arms struggled to hold it, the toddler's eyes grew wide as saucers, and the crowd erupted into cheers and laughter. But the story didn't end there. Shaq decided to make it a moment to remember. With the ease of a man who'd spent years lifting weights and dunking basketballs, he gently scooped up the toddler and gently placed her on his lap, balancing the popcorn bucket between them. "Well, if you're gonna steal my popcorn, you might as well sit with me," he said. Harper giggled, shoving a piece of popcorn into her mouth. The arena's attention shifted as the crowd began to notice the heartwarming scene. The toddler, unbothered by the spotlight, dug into the popcorn while Shaq mimicked her, stuffing his massive hand into the bucket and dramatically fighting for a handful. The two giggled like old friends, sharing popcorn, high fives, and even a few Shaq-sized jokes that had the little one in fits of laughter. Shaq even leaned down to ask, "So, who's your favorite player?" "You better say Shaq." The little girl, perhaps not understanding the question, responded by offering him a piece of his own popcorn. The gesture melted hearts, and a ripple of affection echoed through the crowd. Shaq didn't just stop at sharing his popcorn. He fully embraced his role as Harper's new best friend for the evening. "What's your name, little one?" he asked, holding the bucket steady as Harper reached for more. "Harper," she said between bites. "Harper, huh? You know you're sitting with one of the greatest basketball players of all time, right?" Harper shook her head, her curls bouncing. The game continued, but the real entertainment was happening off-court. Shaq and the toddler shared the bucket until it was nearly empty. Between bites, he taught her how to do his signature Shaq shimmy, a playful shoulder shake that had the audience roaring with delight. The two quickly became the center of attention. Harper handed Shaq a piece of popcorn, and he exaggerated his chewing, pretending it was the best thing he'd ever tasted. Harper's popcorn, better than the stuff they sell here," he said, earning another round of laughs. But on the other row, fear was brewing in the hearts of Harper's parents. Back in their seats, Daniel and Mira finally noticed their daughter was missing. "Where's Harper?" Daniel suddenly asked, his voice tinged with alarm. Mira's head snapped around, scanning the nearby rows. "She was right here," he replied, standing up. Both parents began frantically looking around, their hearts pounding. Nearby fans, who had been watching Harper move to the courtside area, started pointing and laughing. Not in a mocking way, but in amusement. "She's down there!" someone shouted, gesturing toward Shaquille O'Neal. Daniel's eyes widened. "Down there?" Panic set in until they looked over and saw their daughter sitting on Shaq's lap, giggling and sharing popcorn with the basketball legend like they were old friends. "Oh my God, Daniel, look!" Mira gasped. Is she sitting with Shaq?" Daniel stammered, struggling to believe what he was seeing. They hurried down to the VIP section, both apologetic and awestruck. When they reached Shaq, he greeted them with his trademark smile. "Hey, Are you Harper's parents? He asked, gesturing to the sleepy toddler now nestled against his chest. Daniel and Mira apologized profusely. We're so sorry, Harper's mom began, clearly mortified. She really loves popcorn. But Shaq cut them off with a smile. No need to apologize, he said. She's been keeping me company. Hope you don't mind. Daniel and Mira burst into laughter. Not at all. We're so sorry she bothered you, Mira said. Bothered me? Nah, man. She's my new teammate, Shaq replied, handing Harper back to them gently. She's got a great taste in popcorn, and honestly, she's got better energy than half these fans. As Danielle and Marcus carried their sleepy toddler back to their seats, Harper clutched the empty popcorn bucket like a trophy, a smile still plastered on her face. And as the final buzzer sounded and the Lakers claimed victory, Shaq, after signing a few autographs and chatting with fans, waved over Daniel and Mira, who were holding a now sleepy Harper in their arms. Hold up a second, he said with a smile, gesturing for them to wait. The massive basketball icon disappeared into the VIP lounge and returned moments later, carrying something wrapped in purple and gold tissue paper, along with a small Lakers jersey tucked under his arm. He crouched down to Harper's eye level, his expression softening. Hey, Harper, he said gently, even though she was blinking drowsily. I had so much fun with you tonight. I wanted to give you something to remember it by. Shaq handed Daniel the wrapped package, and then unfolded the tiny jersey, revealing it was custom-made with Shaq's name printed across the back, along with the number 34 in honor of Shaq's Lakers days. This is your official jersey, Shaq said, holding it up. Because every great player needs one. You're my teammate now, okay? By now, Harper had stirred awake, her eyes widening as she reached for the jersey, clutching it in her tiny hands. My shirt, she exclaimed, her tiredness momentarily forgotten. And there's one more thing, Shaq added, nodding to Daniel to open the wrapped gift. Inside was a golden basketball, signed in bold, looping letters. To Harper, my little MVP. Keep stealing hearts like you stole my popcorn. Love, Shaq. Daniel and Mira were overwhelmed. Thank you so much, Mira said, her voice cracking with emotion. You have no idea what this means to us. Shaq waved it off with a grin. Hey, she made my night too. I haven't laughed that hard in a while. He reached out and gently tousled Harper's curls. You keep being fearless. And next time, the popcorn's on me. He joked and bade the family goodbye. As the Johnson family walked out of the arena, Harper clutching her jersey and golden basketball, fans who had witnessed the night's events waved and congratulated them. Social media was already buzzing with photos and videos of Harper's courtside adventures, cementing her status as a mini celebrity. On the drive home, Daniel glanced in the rearview mirror at Harper, who had finally drifted off to sleep in her car seat, her arms still wrapped tightly around her new jersey. Can you believe tonight actually happened? He whispered to Mira. Mira said with a chuckle, shaking her head, no. It still feels like a dream. But I'll tell you one thing. Harper just had the best first Lakers game of all time. For them, the moment when one of the biggest names in sports made their little girl feel like a superstar would remain alive in their hearts. By the end of the night, the toddler had not only stolen Shaq's popcorn, but also his heart, and the hearts of everyone who witnessed the interaction. It was a heartwarming reminder that sometimes, the smallest people leave the biggest impact. Photos and videos of the moment quickly went viral, flooding social media with captions like, "Big man, bigger heart." For those in attendance, it was a moment of pure joy, a reminder that sometimes the best part of a game happens off the court. And in an interview days later, Shaq reflected on the moment. Kids are the purest souls, he said. If a little joy and a bucket of popcorn can make someone's day, why not? It was a simple, spontaneous interaction, but it also was a reminder of how much joy the smallest moments and the smallest fans could bring. And in that arena, on that unforgettable evening, Shaq proved that his heart is just as enormous as his legacy. The story of Shaq and Harper became an overnight sensation, making waves around the internet. If you were Shaq, what would have been your reaction? Do you think the day would have gone any better? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, follow, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click on the next video on your screen. You will enjoy it.